segment of our live show. People are calling it a show now, which is cool, El Show en Vivo. But today's episode or today's live, we are have our friend back, Jeremiah, with Thomson Reuters. Jeremiah, how's it going?
It's going well here, coming to you live from Livonia, Michigan, my cozy basement. How are you doing, Antonio?
Good, man. Great. As good as we could be. I'm working from home as you are, as we could all see. I have this new virtual background here, which Zoom allows me to put together. But yeah, but today we have a lot of great resources and news for a lot of our listeners, a lot of our viewers around the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. A lot of people are reaching out to see how a lot of our partners, including, Thomson Reuters and such, what they have available to help the tax and accounting professionals really get through these times, and more importantly, be able to help their taxpayer clients, as there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misinformation out there. So we're excited to have you guys on for sure today.
Great to be here, Tony. And I know that it's been a crazy time the past few weeks. And I know at Thomson Reuters, we've been organizing, collating, mustering the troops, if you will, to try to gather all of our resources and tools that we have at our fingertips to be able to offer that to the public here. So happy to be here and happy to talk about what we're doing at TR.
Yeah, awesome. And if throughout this presentation or this live show, if you have any questions, please type them into the comment box, or just let us know that you could hear us and that you're here with us, because we definitely want to interact with you. But the first question we have for you is more of a broader question. As we understand, Reuters News is part of the Thomson Reuters conglomerate organization. And Reuters News, I know, is very active across the globe, getting feedback from different countries, different experiences that humankind is currently facing. Can you tell us a little bit about Reuters News and how that works with your department and just a broader picture of everything you guys do?
Absolutely. Yeah, Thomson Reuters is such a huge corporation, and one of the unique characteristics about the company is that we do have Reuters News, Reuters Media, a global news agency founded over 160 years ago, journalists working all over the world, being guided by our trust principles, which runs through our entire business, not just in the media area, but through everything we do in tax and accounting professionals as well. So, as we talk about COVID-19 and its impact on, of course, the tax and accounting industry, and we'll get to that here in a moment, I think it's so important for us to just really take a step back and look at COVID-19's impact on us as a human race and humankind, and how we should be approaching, a lot of the new norms that have come up in this day and age. And Reuters, being a leading news agency that is really dedicated towards providing an objective source of news, they really lead the way in terms of how can we learn from others that are approaching COVID-19. So it's interesting because I get a chance to have these colleagues at Thomson Reuters, these amazing journalists, and tap into some of these resources. And I saw recently Steve Adler's, our Reuters editor-in-chief, wrote a letter to his staff, who are journalists all over the world, covering COVID-19 in their own corner of the globe in what he would call the Reuters way. So I think, and I want to go ahead and read just a couple of excerpts if I can here, Tony, if it's valuable, because this is something that I think can be applied to not just tax and accounting professionals or journalists, but really anybody and their approach to how they're conducting business in their home office, or maybe not conducting business. So, I'm going to take a moment here, and I'm looking at this article, and I want to really highlight what his letter says as being charges to certain individuals here. He says, let's remember to recognize that what's happening in each country, while enormous interest locally, is also a piece of a global puzzle. So he's charging his journalists at Reuters to really think globally and have the global coverage that's necessary for this pandemic. He says the more we connect the dots, the more knowledge we can bring to our customers and the public. He also charges as well his journalists and says, let's make the most of this structure by communicating continually on the appropriate teams, groups, and so that way the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. And that's extremely important right now with some of the communication that's occurring with COVID-19 and lack of communication that might be there. So I read this and I encourage you guys, I'll share this article with you, but it's a letter that Steve Adler writes to his journalists. And at the end of it, he wraps it up by saying this, and I encourage you, because again, Steve is dedicating and directing this towards journalists, but I encourage you, if you're a tax professional, make this your charge to your staff members. If you're working at home in whatever business you're doing, make this your charge when you step into your workplace. He says, in these times, as at all times, please check facts carefully. Please check all biases at the door of your virtual office. And whether in text, visuals, or graphics, elevate factually, legally, and tonally sensitive stories to your editor, and ultimately, if appropriate, to the person in charge. He names that person. And he says, let's always choose, and I think this is so important, speed over haste. So that way we can preserve accuracy and fairness. And so that general spirit of preserving accuracy and fairness is something that's so important right now. And really, something that we can take away as being a need for all of us, not just tax professionals, but anybody in this day and age who's trying to understand and react to all of these updates and changes that are happening with COVID-19.
Yeah, no, that's well said. That's beautiful, and it speaks to more of the leadership potential that we all must have, at this point, to instead of panicking or not knowing what to do. It's like, what's the plan? What are the next steps? What can we do? And if a lot of our members, a lot of the tax professionals, they have teams that they lead, clients that expect them to provide them with the accurate answers. And like so much with new legislation happening and new tax implications of that legislation. And we've seen that a lot of the clients, they're asking the tax professionals for those answers, and then the tax pros are asking us. So definitely at times like these, facts are king, as they always should be, but more importantly, even more so now. So no, it's great. With that said, Jeremiah, I know Thomson Reuters has some resources and tools that you guys quickly put together. Very great information that relates to how to better run your firm and your office. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a number of resources and tools that we have that are dedicated to tax professionals that are looking to improve the situation and really make sure that they're equipped to run efficiently in today's business environment. Before I get to some of those tools, though, however, I do want to again take a step back, because I think oftentimes professionals in this environment really cannot talk past some of the basic needs of this pandemic, and it oftentimes can be something where maybe your client, and we can think of this in any given sense, we're bombarded with information, and we're being bombarded, I'm sure, with emails on all of our companies and our accounts telling us their reaction and their response to COVID-19. Now, could you imagine getting an email from perhaps an airline right now saying, hey, we're also offering you this bonus package and trying to sell you on some new vacation that they're offering in spite of the occurrences and the happenings that are going on right now? How senseless would that be? And so I think that really for anybody, when we think about talking about business development is one thing, talking about tax services is definitely a need. But talking about basic human needs around this pandemic is also another baseline need that we have to address. And oftentimes it's serving that need of information and facts. And so there's one tool that I want to share with you tonight that I think is really cool. And I'm wondering, because we're Facebook Live and I think people can see us. So can you
Yeah.
share your screen here? And I want to show you guys how anybody can take advantage of a tool that Reuters offers called the Reuters Fact Check or Fact Checker. So let's test it out and see if we can find this.
Got it, got it. So we're here. So do I just go Thompson or just
Perfect.
Reuters? It's Reuters News.
It's
Yeah,
a
Reuters
Reuters tool, yes. So
Fact
Reuters
Checker.
Fact Checker, yes. And the Reuters Fact Checker is a tool that actually was rolled out in February prior to the COVID crisis, that really is designed to identify false claims and oftentimes being circulated through social media. And this is really this again,
Ooh.
coronavirus and the basic human needs and problems that have arisen as a result of this are just the abundance of misinformation and false claims and what oftentimes people refer to as false news or fake news. It's when you get to the heart of these things, these create fear, these create um, uh, really just a lot of uncertainty, and that uncertainty, which breeds fear, then allows people to act. And when it comes to a practitioner, any small business trying to serve their clients, any one of these false claims could drive any individual to act financially or to act in a hastily manner. So, as a trusted advisor, Reuters is stepping up on the front lines of this and offering this service to make sure that we're able to check certain things, and whether it's related to coronavirus or anything else, this is going to really allow you to do that. So I encourage you to check this out. I mean, you can see what we're showing here. Partly false claim, that's an interesting one. Drinking milk fights coronavirus. Didn't hear that one yet. But that's one that you can read up on. My mother, living down in Louisiana, bless her heart, came to me and she said that the president was actually going to issue a mandatory 2-week quarantine because of a text that she got from one of her relatives who is part of the military. And so it was something that was a text that was shared through whatever channels, social media, through this, through that. And oh, hey, it looks legit. My maybe close friend or my relative is saying that they have a relative in the media, or excuse me, in the Pentagon or in the military, and they've got the latest information, and this is happening. Well, some of it might be true, some of it not be. And how do you parse out then what is true and what's not? So search your social media articles before you repost them. That's my biggest takeaway here, folks, is that when you're consuming news over whatever means or medium that you consume that news, my strong suggestion is to make sure you're validating that news before you repost it or reshare it. And
Yeah.
one easy way to do that is through Reuters fact checker here.
Wow. Yeah. A lot of this is good stuff. Interesting. Like, so steam therapy kills coronavirus false, and then you have children in the UK with coronavirus will be taken to hospital. I mean, this is like practical things that people are looking for or could digest, right? It's not like anything technical. It's like picture shows people dying of coronavirus and like false, false, partly false. This is awesome. Like, I'm glad
Yeah,
this
and it doesn't
exists.
necessarily have anything to do with preparing taxes. But if you can imagine that, you know, gleaning some of the needs that your customers may have,
Yes.
some of these things may come up, and Reuters is definitely a trusted source to be able to debunk this information. So, yeah, I encourage you, if there's a social media article or something that you're reading and you're saying, hey,
Hmm.
this is kind of bogus, I don't know about this one, search the title or search the headline. Oftentimes
Hmm.
it's the headline that you can find it in. Just search the headline in Google and then append to the end of the search Reuters fact checker or Reuters fact check. And oftentimes, if it is indeed a false claim, Reuters fact check will find it, and it'll be something that you can find in a Google
Yeah,
search.
because I know one that I heard was coronavirus was started by the US CIA, and then I put Reuters fact check like that.
Sure, we can
Let's
test
see.
that out. Let's see what it
I wonder if
says.
it comes out. Maybe that one's
There's
not.
a false claim that I see the fourth or fifth one down. 5G networks are making people sick. So I'm
Uh,
not sure. Maybe that, that was the closest one that it found.
not false claim. 5G networks make people sick, not coronavirus. Sharing
So
posts.
that's a false claim. Not quite saying that it was
That's
the
interesting. I mean,
CIA.
I mean, no, but like honestly, like stuff like this is I mean, this is how I mean, you see that you're like, wow, let's share it. Kind of makes sense. 5G is being rolled out at the same time as the coronavirus pandemic is growing. And no wonder people share it, right? Because it kind of makes sense unless you have something telling you no, that's not true.
The
Uh,
intention is pure because you're thinking about your friends, you're thinking about your family, you want them to be safe, you're trying to share this information thinking that it's going to be important for them to take action on. when really is it true or is it false? And just that quick check is so important.
Got it. Cool, man. Thank you for this resource.
You're very welcome. Yeah, anybody can use that.
Got it. Got it. Is there any other tools? I think you said there's a few other ones, or was this the main one you were going to show us?
Yeah, this was the one I wanted to make sure to share with really anybody who's listening in to this webcast here that might be, again, struggling with what is true, what is false in the media and headlines, especially as you're perusing social media. Everybody's got a little bit more time on their hands, it seems like, to peruse social media. And so when you're spending that time, make sure that you're validating those claims. I did want to kind of transition here and turn our attention more towards the tax and accounting industry and some of the resources that Thomson Reuters tax professionals has to offer to those firms that are really looking to make sure that their clients are equipped in today's age to really understand, first of all, some of the new legislation that's being passed, but also able to then provide their clients with practical advice and action that they may need to take based upon some of that legislation. So I know, Tonya, that you and Carlos had just done some wonderful webinars that highlighted some of the two recent big acts that came through: the Families First Coronavirus Act and the CARES Act. And boy, there's some unprecedented changes that's occurring in our tax landscape. And I can tell you that from personal experience, I thought TCJA was shattering and shaking. I think we're all in for a ride when it comes to what the layout of the tax return for tax year 2020 is going to look like. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like, and what all of the changes related to the CARES Act and related to the Families First Act, what type of impact that's going to show when it comes time for filing next year.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it's going to keep us busy, and so that's why a lot of people are looking forward to just staying engaged. There's a lot of viewers on all the time, getting the latest updates, because we all need to be ready to explain this to our clients. And next tax season, it's going to be interesting with all the different credits that are going to be available and the different, deductions and implications. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and as we've got you here, and I know, Tony, you're sharing your screen. We just talked about the Reuters fact checker. I'm wondering if we can maybe look for another tool that Reuters is investing in. This is actually a third-party tool here, and for the sake of trying to track legislation related to COVID-19 here, if you were to search coronavirus, and we'll use one word there for coronavirus. Federal legislation updates.
Federal legislation updates.
So, and you know what? I am going to misguide you here. Let's do a different search. If we were to search coronavirus and Scopus Labs, Skopos.
Scopus Labs.
You got it. Yep. Perfect. So the first one. Yeah, the first one there. So Scopus Labs is actually a third party that provides real-time tracking as up-to-date and as real-time as possible on coronavirus policies and legislations. So
this is interesting. So does this work not just in the age of coronavirus, but whenever there's potential legislation? Is it when it's about to be introduced, or as soon as it's introduced, does it pick it up right away, or how does it usually work?
Let me show you, man. Déjame mostrarte. Let me show you.
Cool.
So right there, the policy tracker where it says Scopus coronavirus policy tracker, that button.
Got it.
Yes, and I've been checking this the past few days. It's continually changing. What it really shows is, and again, this is important. This is representing the legislation. This is Congress. This is not representing IRS. It's not showing IRS notices or IRS, specific form instructions or anything like that. We have yet to get to that point. This is mainly just reporting on the bills. 3 of them have been enacted into law. So 3 coronavirus bills, the Family First Act, the CARES Act, and then there was one early March, Early Appropriations Act that was enacted as well. But if you scroll down a little bit here, Tony, the first table that you'll see, and there's the CARES Act that's highlighted. Notice all the bills that are introduced, and you'll see here, this is essentially tracking all of the different bills that are on Capitol Hill as being introduced and potentially maybe sitting in the House or sitting, have made their way to the Senate. And you can even, if you scroll down, there's additional pages, 7 pages worth. I had counted,
Oh.
I think upwards of 40 to 50, and it has the counts at the top. But where we're at right now with coronavirus and COVID-19 in terms of Capitol Hill, really the legislation is passing at an unprecedented rates. It's happening and moving very quickly. So staying on top of it can be, kind of crazy, and trying to keep track of, exactly where all of the bills are at. So this is a nice tool that consolidates that. It also uses one of Thomson Reuters tools called Westlaw. So Westlaw is part of our legal branch of our business and company. It's a product that our legal team provides. And again, it's meant to provide accurate, up-to-date information. Any of these links, the CARES Act, for example, I saw you searching an act there, but you click on it, it actually takes you to the bill. I saw you click there on the HR portion of the bill that's being presented.
Yeah. Okay, so this is powerful. The reason is because our members are asking us how they could know when legislation is introduced, when it's voted on, and when it's negotiated, because they really want to become active in just getting our voice out there to these politicians who are creating this. And maybe they need to create it a certain way to ensure that us as tax professionals and our clients that we serve are included in some of this legislation. So this is powerful. And the reason I'm looking this up is because this was brought up to us from one of our congressmen he has to happen to be a congressman in our region, Monterey County. And he said that, they're looking at the bill and it was introduced. And so I was like, interesting. So it does exist, right? He wasn't just making it up.
Right. And what you're looking at is the Congress website. This is a direct source, fuente of the information. So if you go back to that for a second, as you're doing your digging and you're doing your research on some of this, if you really want to get deeper, you would go into the text from here. So if you click on the text tab, kind of in the middle of, you're right there exactly. And then from here, there's actually the entirety of the bill. So if you really want
because
I'm getting into nitty gritty, you can see it in its entirety.
And then this has to do because the current CARES Act, it's leaving out certain taxpayers who do not have Social Security numbers from receiving the rebate payment. And some of our members are like, hey, how could we kind of just let our Congress women, men know that maybe they need to include these taxpayers. But then when we asked one of our congressmen regarding leaving them out, they pointed us to this bill and basically said, hey, in this bill, we did include them. And the I-10 taxpayers per se. So which is, this is a different bill. But no, and then now we could search that, right? Maybe Control F. Do you know?
Sure. Yeah. Just like any other web browser functionality, you just hit the control. You'll notice your scroll bar on the right is extremely small. So that just signifies that there's a lot of content here. But yeah, I imagine a quick Control F on the keypad to search for something specific, and you very well may be able to find it here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, cool, interesting. So then you go and then you find what you need, and then you. Yep. Yeah, and then
you may want to capitalize it because it's just finding a lot of stuff there. Yeah.
See, that makes sense.
And that didn't really do it, whatever. But yeah, and I will say, Antonio, as we look at this resource and this tool, again, if I'm a tax practitioner, if I'm an individual who's advising clients, we do have to take this for what it's worth. Again, these are the bills, and what we're looking at is a bill that wasn't enacted into law, but these are bills that have CARES Act, Families First Act, that have been enacted into law on the Congress side of things. And there are a number of moving pieces that are taking place right now as a result of those bills, and some things that as a practitioner, you'll want to make sure to stay on top of. I do have some resources that I'll be sure to share with you and the audience for any professionals who are looking for more webinars that go into a lot more detail. Obviously, we're scratching the surface on some things here today, but at Thomson Reuters, we have a number of webinars as well as other resources that go into a lot more greater detail related to those provisions. But again, I want to emphasize that these are not the IRS form instructions, and this is not the tax return yet. That's going to be a whole nother thing. I know Carlos likes to say, the Congress is one entity, while the IRS is another entity. Congress is the one that creates the laws. IRS is the one that interprets and enforces. So just again, want to make sure to set that context and share this for what it's worth here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And as these bills are being introduced and people are creating these laws, many times us as tax professionals, we feel like, oh, let's wait until they pass the law, then let's wait till the IRS implements the law, then once we get guidance, then we could help our clients. But then, recently they're like, wait, we could wait, or we could change it from the beginning, right? We could advocate as the creation of the bill is being done, and then once it gets back to us through the IRS, because the IRS says it very, very clearly, like, we don't make the law, right? We're just implementing the law. So if you don't like something, or if you think something should be different, contact your local senator, your local congresswoman, a congressman, to be able to maybe amend the law or introduce a new one. So this is very powerful. Thanks, Jeremiah.
Exactly. And what I think it speaks to, Tony, is, folks who are really looking for an opportunity to become a trusted advisor. That's truly what it comes down to in the profession is, can your customers and clients and taxpayers rely on you to provide the truth and nothing but the truth, right? And not just the truth, but make sure that it's accurate, make sure it's timely, and that it's happening and coming from you, from the professional, because people are going to get the information somehow. The information's out there, as you can see. So what better way than to be the one that's getting in front of who is educating your taxpayer and who's educating your clients than to be you. It should be the person who is doing the taxes that's educating them on these things.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I wanted to share one more thing, Tony, and this was really a tool and a resource, again, specific to professionals. I know we scratched we scratched the surface on the law with the CARES Act. That thing goes so deep. And there's a number of webinars that we are offering for free at Thomson Reuters.
Okay, nice.
Through Checkpoint Learning. Our Checkpoint Learning team is providing these. And I just shared a link, and I don't know if we can access this through the chat in Zoom. Tony, I'm wondering if you were to pull up your chat here for a moment in Zoom and just pop the link that I shared open here. And these are specific to tax and practice updates in the age of coronavirus. There's a couple of webinar dates you can see there, the 16th, the 24th. We did offer one earlier March or last week, I think, and then we had one scheduled for this week as well, but I believe those are sold out. A lot of people are looking for answers, looking for tools, looking for resources to be able to help their clients during this crisis. And so this is a free CPE. Like I said, this is provided for $0 charge. You can come out here to Checkpoint Learning Critical Tax and Practice Updates in the Age of Coronavirus to be able to hear more information about up-to-date details relating to the new acts and what's happening in the industry. So those are the tools I wanted to share with you, Tony. I definitely think that this is something that we're going to continue to talk about. We're going to continue to hear more about. There's a lot of wait and see right now. I know that really at this point, it's those who are proactive and those who are able to try to be more ahead of the curve than allowing things to react, being reactory and allowing things to happen to them that are going to survive and thrive during this time. So at Thomson Reuters, we're here to help. And for Latino Tax Pro members, any tools and resources that we can put in your firm's hands, we're absolutely all for it. So yeah, that's all I had for you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. So, we learned today a few different things, how to go search real news, fact-based news. And if you hear any rumors about something, double check it. And you said it perfectly, Jeremiah, like don't share it, right? I mean, even though it's tempting, and I could be be the first one to say, oh, look, this sounds
Validate before you share it. Check it before you share it.
exactly, be like, this sounds juicy. Let me share it, right? And then that's, so fact it before you share it. And then the great Scopos lab, working in conjunction with you guys to be able to kind of get information on pending legislation bills. I like that so much because as as we become advisors to our clients, and we are seen as advisors, not just people that put in numbers into the software or fill out lines, being ahead of that legislation, understanding what's being created, what's being introduced, and then being able to advocate, be like, hey, I read you introduce something, but I don't think I like that. Could we change this up a little bit? Oh yeah, why not? I never thought about changing it because nobody brought it up before, you know.
Right.
So that's
Congress people are people too.
yeah, definitely. And then last but not least, of course, is all the great webinars you guys have. So yeah, we'll be doing. Everybody listening, we'll start sharing a lot of these links with you. We'll add them to the comment box of this video to be able to get you what you need. And thank you guys for creating all these great resources and tools. And we'll be sure to be, paying attention to everything else you guys have.
Thank you so much, Tony. Stay safe out there, everybody. Take care.
Bye.